take, Captain Ramsey?
Hold your horses, Corporal Dial. Ramsey knows what he's doing. The man's moving up in the world. He's old blood, one of the good families. And now that he's helped the rightful Empress take the throne, the Ramseys are gonna be back in fashion in Dunwall. Smart.
How many times have I looked at that skyline? It feels like everything just changed.
Dishonored 2 was released on November 11th, 2016, and will take about 12 hours to beat the main game and 6 hours to beat the standalone DLC, The Death of the Outsider. The graphic improvements from the first game to the second are obvious and bring beauty to the series. The second game takes place about 15 years after the end of the first. The time skip, the technology in the world around you looks to be advancing at the same rate as you left it. While keeping the steampunk look of the first game, everything has become a bit more angular and less boxy. The gameplay has also made some improvements since the first game, with leaning having a dedicated key to help peek over and under objects rather than just from side to side. The combat is a little bit more punishing, but the movement during it, and in most other parts of the game, feel much more fluid, having your character running and mounting over obstacles and rooftops, which is a key factor in the game's renewed focus on replayability. While in the first game, 2 playthroughs are possible, with having a good ending and a bad ending, depending on whether you killed and fought everyone you saw, or scurried through the shadows, avoiding the gaze of enemies while non-lethally taking out your targets. In the sequel, the Chaos system makes a return, determining your ending. However, there's a new option added on top of the existing ones, refusing the Outsider's mark. While in the first game there was an achievement for only using Blink, in the second it's an entire gameplay option to not use powers at all. This, along with the addition of New Game Plus, invites the player to try all of their options. But that's not all. The game also gives you the option of playing the beloved hero of old, Corvo, or his daughter and Empress, Emily Caldwin. The choice is not simply a he or she option in dialogue, but both characters have different experiences and opinions on things throughout the game. Unlike the first game, the protagonist for Dishonored 2 voices their opinions in more than just actions. Picking up various important items and committing certain actions will invoke a response from the protagonist of your choosing, that is specific to the character you picked. Each character also has their own set of powers to choose from, and the ranged weapons and masks of the characters vary in appearance. With the game's new focus on replayability comes an improvement on small details. Every playthrough I do, I always seem to find a new path through a building or a new dialogue from the NPCs around me. Having personally logged 65 hours and 5 playthroughs in the game at the time of writing, the latest one I did to write this review, I found beggars that when I gave them coins told me secrets they heard, or places they saw. After giving the first beggar I met money, I took something from him while he was telling me, and he stopped. He told me to find my own secrets. The game continues to somehow impress me and interest me even after everything I've done. Some more important details in the gameplay is the addition of random save combinations to prevent players from just looking up the answers online. While you can still find the locations of the combination, or brute force them, it forces the player to experience something that they may have lost than just reading the code on a wiki. The game also added a bunch of collectibles to fill your room and your pockets throughout the levels, making the game a further paradise to the explorers in the room. There are also shrines hidden throughout each level that give the player more time to hear what the Outsider has to say and reward you with whalebone runes to upgrade your abilities. The Outsider even remarks on what you're going to do or what you've already done depending on when you get to the shrine. The game has also changed the Heart of the Living, giving the player the ability to lock the location of a rune or a bone charm to be always visible, even without the heart equipped. The explorers will also find black market shops, the new places to buy upgrades and tools to help you throughout each level. You can even rob them if you find a way in. Overall, the attention to detail is impressive. However, this game isn't without its problems. In my experience, Emily's Far Reach, which replaces Corvo's Blink, has a much higher learning curve, and in some tight areas is almost impossible to use. I found it particularly frustrating when climbing elevator shafts, which there are quite a few of throughout the game. The beginning cinematic is also quite long before you actually get to play, but it sets the game up right, it's skippable. Dishonored 2 is a fantastic addition to the series, but the standalone DLC sadly brings me to believe that this is the end of it. Death of the Outsider is fantastic, however, adding even more powers as you play as one of the support characters from the main game as they rescue an old boss and possibly save the world. The sequel is great, and though we may never have another Dishonored game, I'm glad to have this one be an end to such a great series.
Suite atop Dunwall Tower. Stay put until this is all set straight, Ramsey. Enjoy the rations and well water, sleeping next to a fortune.